Hey, this is Matrix of Coffee and Blunts, where we'll give you the coffee to wake you up, and we give you the blunt truth. And here is the blunt truth. Like and subscribe to my channel. Listen, this channel, Coffee and Blunts, is made, with good intention to, you know, I think I have a lot to offer the conversation of what's going on in our community, dealing with relationships, dealing with men, dealing with women. And whatever I can help, if you find these videos helpful, and if you have people that need to hear certain things that I'm saying, subscribe to the channel, and join in with the conversation, because that's what the channel is about. If it makes money, this is great, and that'll be extra for whatever me and my family get, and for me to grow whatever I'm doing. But really, the channel is for us to get the conversation going. And today, real quick, assalamu alaikum first of all to all my Muslim people. Shout out to all my West Indian people. Shout out to all my Black American people. Shout out to all my African people. And shout out to all the people who support the movement, the things that we be doing. So today, I'm getting this together, but today I want to talk about leadership and what leadership is and what leadership should be to men in our community and what it should somewhat look like. My brother told me when I do this stuff, I should have my notes written down. But like I said, the content have to be put out at the time that it need to be put out, because the conversation is already being had and things are changing. So sometimes I have to just, and like I said, like my boy, Poor Man Podcast, shout out to him, be saying, if you like what I pick up what I'm putting down, then, get involved with the conversation. But again, we talking about leadership and what leadership look like, and why a lot of women don't accept the leadership that the black men are giving out nowadays. When you say leadership got to address all three factors of the human: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. It just can't address one and don't address all of the other three. You could be smart, and you could have great school knowledge, and you could have great, you could have read a lot. You could be smart, and that addresses your mental. Whether you do it like through the school system or whether you learn on your own, people become smart, and this addresses their mentality and their mental state. Work out, eat healthy, have good day-to-day habits will help you get good health, which addresses your physical. And then there's the spiritual, where some people, they ascribe to Islam, which is my faith, Christianity, Judaism, Israelites, whatever your spirituality is. But I think the thing that's lacking when we dealing with spirituality, when we dealing with leadership, when we dealing with the mental, when we dealing with the physical, what we're lacking is now we're talking too much about the mental leadership. We're talking too much about the physical leadership, but we're not addressing the spiritual leadership, which is this leadership that never ends. And when you don't address the spiritual leadership, the leadership that doesn't end, then that leadership that you have is limited. The physical, let's talk about your physical leadership. Because when you come to these women and you come to them and you're dealing with them and they ask for your leadership and your guidance, money and physical are the only two attributes that's nowadays being addressed. And this is one of the main reasons I want to address this. And I don't want to make it too long, but I want to address this because a lot of men think because they making a certain amount of money that is their leadership. I ask men, all right, what is your leadership? You say you coming in with leadership. Well, my leadership is, I got a business and I plan to buy land and pass on my wealth. All right, you're addressing the physical. This all falls in the category of the physical leadership. Things that tangible, things that could help increase your family's wealth. All these things attribute to the physical portion of your leadership. The money, the land, the cars, the children. This is all the physical part of your leadership. And that's good because that part has to be addressed. Without no money, there's no way we can move to the next level or any type of monetary or trade or whatever you do to get the family to the next level, whether you use land or stocks or whatever you do. All that addresses the physical. And that's great. That's physical leadership. That's what we need. We need physical, tangible things in order for us in life to be able to prosper in a physical world where we're dealing with people and we're dealing with money and trades and good and things of that nature. Then you have the mental leadership, where we tell our kids to go to these various different educational institutes and go to these various different type of schools and school of thought and schools and that train you to be certain things. And I stress train you for these education systems because a lot of these education systems really don't educate. So we're talking about the leadership mentally. So you deal with education. Now we get the book knowledge. Now we teaching the kids what we feel they need to do in order to achieve themselves and aspire to be something great. So we're talking about the educational value, which is mental, which is also what we need to know their history, to know where they come from, to know their lineage, to know to know math, science, reading, all these things. It's a must. That leadership, you must have that leadership. And that's great. And we're talking about that. And that is being addressed. But what is not being addressed and what people are not watching because of things like the Black Manosphere and people coming out to speak, men are starting to step it up even more. And the money is coming. The women, they ask for it and they about to get it. The men say, oh, it's the money. It's why y'all not listening. So we're going to go get that money. And the men are getting the money. But once you got the money, where is your leadership? You got the money. In order for you to get the money, we know as men, you had to get the education. Because there is no money without the education. So we had to go out there and use our mobility in order for us to get our education, in order for us to become the leaders that we are. So we had to get some education. So we address the financial part. We get into the bag. We get into the education. We addressing the mental. We addressing the physical. We're working out more. We're addressing the physical so that we can be better protectors of our women. But are we addressing the spiritual? And this is why our women are not going to follow us. I have an uncle named Shabazz Muhammad. Shout out to Shabazz Muhammad. What he told me one day is that if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. He also told me that if you can't get a woman to follow the being that created her, what makes you think she's going to be willing to follow you? That hit me to this day. People don't even understand that concept. If she cannot follow the one who created her, what makes you think she's going to follow you? This is what we're not addressing, and this is what we don't want to address. We want to get into things that's tangible, thinking those things are going to hold women. Women are abstract creatures. A lot of things they do is an abstract. So if you don't add that abstract in there, then she's not going to fall into line. What is the abstract? What I'm talking about? Matrix, what you talking about when you say abstract? Things that are intangible, things that you cannot, they live in that world. You got to show her the real part of that world. The world that she thinks is imaginary. You got to show her that it's part of that is real. I'm making y'all dwell on this for a second, but I need y'all to hear me. You got to make her understand that the spiritual world, those dreams and expectations and things that she wants, she can actually have. In this concrete world, we may not be able to have certain things, but there's a life where we can have that. I don't want to get too spiritual on y'all. I don't want to get too deep on certain things. And y'all may want me to get deep on certain things. But we have to address the spiritual. Whatever your deen is, whatever your spirituality is, that is where your leadership lies. Why? Why do you say this, Matrix? Because let's start from the beginning. Physical, spiritual, mental. Your physical at some point ends. I don't care how strong you are. At some point you will age. And then your physical leadership will begin to dwindle. Your physical leadership will begin to dwindle. Your protection will be no longer needed because you won't be able to protect nothing. So where's your protection? Physically, this is what I'm saying. Physically, you won't be able to protect nothing. So there's an ending to that. Mentally, your education continues. It continues, but at what capacity? And if the mental that you've given out isn't the knowledge that is useful, that can be passed on for generations, then your mental capability is only limited to what is here. And all that, what you have here. What is the next? What is the next thing? What will carry the woman? What will give them women hope? What will make the women understand that we're bigger? The purpose that we have is bigger than ourselves. You have to address your spiritual leadership, because if you don't have no spiritual leadership, there's no guidance. Why are you telling her to put on clothes? Yes, it's for her protection. But is it for protection just from the things in the physical, or is it protection from things that are in the physical, that is in the mental, and that is the spiritual in a spiritual sense that protects her all the way around? It's the way you telling her to dress, addressing her physical appearance, how people see her, how people dress her, how address her, how people interact with her. It's the way you telling her to dress, addressing her mental, where she knows if she dress a certain way, she has to have a certain amount of knowledge, because there's a certain amount of knowledge comes with that dress. For example, when she puts on, a nurse put on a nurse uniform, or a cop puts on a cop uniform, we knows that with this outfit that they have on, there comes a certain amount of responsibility. So is the dress that you're telling her to wear addressing that mental, educational part of her? And then is the dress that you're telling her to wear addressing also the spiritual part of her, where people can automatically recognize and understand this is a woman of spirituality? Understand what I'm saying, people, because the things that men tell women to do are not things of control. These things address certain things, and if put into the right context, will leave all of us to a better salvation, not only in the next life, but in this life as well. We have to start addressing our spiritual leadership. I'm tired of men on the internet talking about, I'm a leader, and I'm, you know, you got to be a leader. But if I really sit down, y'all don't want to have this conversation with me. Because if I address your leadership and ask you what your leadership is, your leadership ends at material, and it goes no further. And if your material was to leave you today or tomorrow, what will you have to hold on to? If your mental leaves you today or tomorrow, some people, they lose that ability to remember, to think. What will you have to hold on to? I want brothers to address their spiritual leadership. I don't know what your spirituality is, but you can't come into a relationship with a woman and not address the spiritual nature of a woman. You cannot. You cannot. You cannot. The conversation gets deeper, and I want y'all to get involved with the conversation. But understand this, you cannot come into a relationship claiming that you're a leader and you're not addressing all elements of the human, the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. 360 all the way around. If you're not addressing these things, then what are you addressing? Because after we attain the wealth, after we got all the knowledge that we have, what do we do with this wealth and knowledge? And that is where your spirituality come. That's where your morality come in. Because there's a lot of people who have education and have finances, and they doing love and hip hop, and they twerking on the car. And there are men that are allowing these women to do these things. You know why? Because there's no spirituality attached to what they're doing. There's no spirituality attached to what they're doing. So they feel like what they're doing is the right thing. But in all reality, there's no spirituality attached to the thing. Therefore, there's no real leadership. There's chaos in their leadership. There's no order. There's no structure. What is the values that you're having your family follow outside of getting to the bag? Again, join into the conversation. You know, I want all my brothers to chime in. You know, we do a live or whatever, but we got to start addressing this thing that we call leadership. What is leadership? What is your dean, Ak? Like we used to say back in the day, when the 5%ers come up on you, they say, yo, what's today's mathematics? Why? Because there was order. Men at those times had order. When brothers come up on you and in his arm, they expect the Ak to know his 5 pillars and 6 articles of faith. You understand? Order. Address your spirituality, Ak. Because if you don't fix what's in here, I don't care what type of money you have. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much money you have. You're not going to win in life. Yo, so shout out to all my people. Y'all already know what it is. It's Matrix, Coffee and Blunts, doing more episodes. Shout out to all them people who support me. And please join the conversation. This channel is about getting the conversation going so that we can build a community, so that we can do something to get to the next level. So if you're about getting to the next level, like, subscribe to my channel. I'll get on your channel. Let's have the conversation. 1. Matrix.